Yeah. I'ma raise the stakes and make you shake. It's time to play now, get ready to play. The choice is yours, but I'ma choose to win. Time to take control, I'ma be the playmaker.
Let me ask you something. What if Congress passed a law that gave the NCAA more power to control college sports and more protection from lawsuits? But athletes still did not have a real seat at the table? Because that is the debate happening right now around the Protect College Sports Act. Now, I already know what some of you are thinking. The Protect College Sports what? That is fair. Most parents are focused on the immediate challenges of recruiting and scholarships. Most parents are trying to figure out recruiting, scholarships, transfer rules, NIL deals, and whether the coach is actually interested or just collecting film. They are not sitting around reading 100-page bills from Congress. So today, I want to explain what this bill is, why people support it, why other people are fighting it, and why families with athletes should pay attention. Because this is not just about Congress. This could affect eligibility, transfers, NIL money, medical coverage, scholarships, and how much power athletes have when they disagree with the system. The Protect College Sports Act is a federal bill designed to create one national set of rules. For college athletics, right now, college sports is operating under NCAA rules, conference rules, school policies, different state laws, court decisions, and the House settlement. That is too many cooks in the kitchen. And somehow, half of them brought a different recipe. The bill has cleared the Senate Commerce Committee, but it is not law yet. It would still need to pass the full Senate and the House before being signed into law. A Senate sponsor recently said he believes the bill may have enough votes to pass the Senate, but its future in the House is much less certain. The basic idea sounds reasonable. Congress wants to bring some order to college sports. The question is whether this bill creates fair order or simply gives the people already in charge more control. Why do supporters want this bill? Let's be fair, there are some good things in this bill. It would protect an athlete's right to earn money from NIL. It would require clearer NIL contracts. It would protect an athlete's right to hire an agent or attorney. It includes medical coverage requirements for sports-related injuries. It creates health and safety standards. It calls for an athlete ombudsman, which is basically an office athletes can contact when they have concerns. It would also require athletes to hold at least 1/3 of the seats on certain NCAA governing boards. And these are real, essential protections for the college athletes. The bill would also create national rules around transfers and eligibility. Athletes would be guaranteed at least one transfer without losing a season, with additional exceptions for situations such as a coach leaving, a sport being eliminated, graduate school, or sexual harassment. For parents, that sounds helpful. Clearer rules are usually better than finding out after your child transfers that somebody forgot to mention the small print. Supporters also say the bill could help protect women's sports and Olympic sports. Schools are now paying athletes through revenue sharing. They are spending heavily on football, basketball, facilities, coaches, lawsuits, recruiting, and NIL operations. That money has to come from somewhere. And when athletic departments start making cuts, sports like swimming, track, wrestling, gymnastics, tennis, golf, and volleyball may be the first programs placed in danger. That concern is real, but this is where the argument gets complicated. What is the big problem? The biggest concern is something called antitrust protection. Do not let the legal term scare you. In plain words, antitrust laws help stop powerful organizations from working together to unfairly limit competition, control money, or restrict what people can earn. Athletes have used antitrust lawsuits to challenge NCAA rules for years. Those lawsuits help push college sports toward better benefits, NIL rights, and direct athlete compensation. The Protect College Sports Act would give the NCAA, schools, and conferences limited protection from certain antitrust lawsuits when they enforce rules created under the bill. Supporters say that is necessary. Their argument is simple. You cannot create stable national rules if somebody files a lawsuit every time the NCAA enforces one. But opponents have a question. What happens when the rule is unfair? If athletes cannot challenge the rule in court, who is holding the NCAA accountable? That is the main point Darren Heitner makes in his article. Congress is trying to solve a trust problem by offering immunity. But immunity is not the same as trust. You cannot say, people do not trust this organization, so let's protect the organization from being challenged. That is a very interesting solution. It is like fixing bad officiating by taking away instant replay. Why are the SEC and Big Ten against it? The SEC and Big Ten do not believe the bill gives conferences enough certainty. They are worried Congress will create federal rules. while states continue passing their own laws involving NIL, recruiting, tampering, compensation, and eligibility. So now instead of cleaning up the mess, you may just add another layer on top of it. The conferences are basically saying, if we are going to accept federal restrictions, then we need a real national system. They also believe important terms are unclear. What counts as pay for play? What makes an NIL deal legitimate? What information can the College Sports Commission review? Which decisions can still be challenged in court? The SEC and Big Ten do not necessarily oppose federal regulation. They just do not believe this version gives them enough protection for everything they would be asked to enforce. The ACC sees things differently. The ACC is more supportive because it believes national rules and slow down the growing financial gap between conferences. Same bill, different interests. That is college sports in one sentence. The issue nobody really wants to talk about here is the part families need to understand. Labor advocates are worried that the NCAA and conferences could gain protection to set rules around NIL and direct athlete payments without being required to negotiate those rules with athletes. That is where collective bargaining comes in. Professional athletes in the NFL and NBA have unions. The leagues do not get to decide every major compensation rule by themselves. Players have representation. They negotiate over money, benefits, health, working conditions, and other major issues. College athletes do not have one national union, so think about the system this bill could create. The NCAA and conferences help set the compensation rules. They receive protection from certain lawsuits. But athletes are not guaranteed the right to sit across the table and negotiate. That is the concern. Supporters call that stability. Labor advocates may call it control. And honestly, both sides are probably telling you exactly what they want out of the bill. The institutions want protection from lawsuits. Athletes need protection from bad rules. Those are not automatically the same thing. What about Olympic sports? The ACC helped promote a letter from athletes supporting the bill because they believe it could protect non-revenue sports. That message matters. Football and basketball should not be the only sports left standing when all of this is over. But Heitner points out something important. The ACC athlete group reportedly did not include football or men's basketball players. Those are the athletes producing much of the revenue. That does not mean Olympic sport athletes should be ignored. It means one group of athletes should not be used to speak for every athlete. We should protect Olympic sports, but we should not protect them by removing leverage from football and basketball players without giving those players another way to negotiate. Both groups deserve a voice. 3 stories that show how big NIL has become. Heitner also mentioned 3 other developments that show why this conversation matters. First, an Ohio court refused the NCAA's request to pause an injunction involving the 5-year eligibility rule for basketball players. That shows why access to the courts matters. Sometimes an athlete's only chance to challenge an eligibility decision is through a lawsuit. Second, Texas Tech's new football stadium naming rights deal with Galaxy is worth $75 million over 15 years, and it includes NIL opportunities for players. Think about that. NIL is now being built into stadium naming rights agreements. The athletes are becoming part of the value that brands are purchasing. Third, New Jersey is directing $5 million in taxpayer money toward Rutgers' NIL efforts. So now, NIL involves school money, corporate money, donor money, revenue sharing money, and public money. This is not just a kid earning $500 for an Instagram post anymore. This is becoming a major part of how athletic departments compete. What should families take from this? Here is the main takeaway. Do not assume every organization involved is protecting your athlete first. The school has to protect the school. The conference protects the conference. The NCAA protects its system. The brand protects its investment, the agent protects the agent's business, and the government is trying to protect the entire structure. So the athlete and family have to understand how to protect the athlete. Read the contract. Understand when the eligibility clock starts. Know what happens if your child transfers. Ask who controls the athlete's content. Ask when the athlete gets paid. Ask what happens if the deal is rejected. Keep copies of every contract, email, text message, and payment record. And remember this. The compliance office can explain the school's rules. That does not mean the compliance office is your child's independent representative. That is not disrespect. That is just understanding everybody's role. Closing, the Protect College Sports Act has some good ideas. Clear NIL rules, better medical coverage, scholarship protections, national transfer rules, athlete representation, protection for Olympic sports. But the bigger question is whether Congress can create stability without taking away too much athlete power. College sports does need rules, it needs structure, it needs accountability. But athletes should not lose the ability to challenge unfair decisions just because the institutions are tired of being challenged. You cannot protect college sports without protecting college athletes. And you cannot say athletes have a voice while everybody else is still holding the microphone. Subscribe to Good Move Sports and follow at Good Move Sports for more plain language conversations about NIL, athlete development, and the business behind sports. The rules are changing. Make sure your family understands them. Good Moves, where we help athletes win before, during, after the game.